we have, I think, a fascinating discussion to be had right now. We've got the CEO of Stash. Now, Stash is a company that is really bringing in more people, millions more people into investing, often for the first time. And we've got Green Dot, the CEO of Green Dot Bank. And Green Dot Bank is a bank that not everyone knows as well as some of the other big players, but they are powering the likes of Apple Pay. They've got a partnership with Walmart, and of course they've got a partnership with Stash as well. And we're going to dig into a lot of that right now. So please join me in welcoming Stephen Streit, from the CEO of Green Dot Bank, Brandon Krieg from Stash, and Brad Burning will be interviewing them.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back for the afternoon sessions here. I think in my past 20 years of financial services and fintech, I can't think of a more dynamic time in fintech where we're seeing a true tectonic shift in the distribution of financial services. We are blessed here to have two visionaries, and you've already had some intros, so we're going to get right into it. I think one of the things that is probably pretty apparent to people, and I want to ask you a little bit more detail about this, but digital banking is clearly taking off. We have PayPal, we have Square's Cash App, we have Green Dot's GoBank, right? We have Stash, we have Acorn, we have Chime, we have a lot of companies. By our estimates, over 50 million accounts already are in deposits or checking or in some sort of wealth investment account. We'll start with you, Brandon. What are you seeing from consumer demand perspective? What are you seeing as the underlying dynamics that are driving these trends and interests that are driving the business opportunities that you're seeing?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, when we think about, the last 3 years at Stash, when we think about, when we were starting, who would be the customer we would get? And when we started, we thought we would get, 18 to, 22, 23-year-olds that would come just to, save some extra beer money aside. And what we found out is we were completely wrong. What we're getting is basically what looks like America. So 29-year-olds, that household income of $50,000, geographically spread throughout the US. And they're coming to us because they want more. They want to live a better financial life. And what we have done is we've gotten rid of the barriers and the hurdles that most people in America have to go through. And we started with investing. So we made it really easy for people to invest, to start learning about investing and learning and getting financial education as they did the action of putting money away. And as we've advanced the product to retirement and tools for children and now banking, what we find is that there's no obstacle for people to switch their behavior and move their financial life onto a mobile app. I think when you look at NPS scores for the top incumbent financial companies, they're all negative. So, consumers aren't getting what they want out of most financial services companies, and most financial companies, unfortunately, aren't looking after the middle class, the bulk of America right now. So the opportunity for fintech and for Stash is pretty incredible.
We'll come back and dig into a couple more details on that, but I want to give Steve to comment a little bit as well. What are you seeing from the consumer? What are you seeing from employers in the consumer piece that we'll start to, and we'll come back to a little bit more of the corporate side?
Well, yeah, at Green Dot, we're lucky to work with so many awesome companies. And for those of you who know Green Dot Stories, we're two companies in one. We have a consumer side where we issue products under our own brand names, Green Dot, GoBank, and several others. And then we have BaaS, Banking as a Service, which is our other side of the business. And that has many different customers that they can come in and build whatever they want in our API toolbox and create the custom experience they want for their customers. And Brandon did that with Stash, with some really cool products and offerings. So we see it all. And generally what it is a company that's looking to please a customer base or an employee base, or looking to reward some constituency by having them have a checking account or bank account with them, that you can put your arms around that customer. Because if you have their money and they're working with you for not only your services, but their money in general, they're more likely to use you for all kinds of things. So we see it all. And generally, the products that have the best kinds of rewards or unique features, let's say that, not always rewards, but the most unique features that are relevant to the product or service tend to do the best. And the ones that are best filtered in the flow of acquisition, in other words, what you're doing anyhow. So if you're Uber, who's one of our clients, having that rewards driver's checking account be in the flow of signing up or using Uber. Or if you're Walmart with a Walmart money card, having us in displays around the store and at walmart.com, and Intuit with TurboTax. As you're paying your taxes, you want a tax refund, here's a bank account for you to get it on, and so forth and so on. And so that's how it works.
I mean, so you hit on an important topic here of, what value are you providing to the consumer, in this case, convenience aspect of it. But maybe, Brandon, you can talk a little bit more about the value proposition. What are you giving to the consumer? You have over 3 million accounts already, so obviously you're giving something that people like.
Yeah.
What else are you seeing that differentiates versus traditional financial companies that you're providing?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, the center glue for Stash is personalization. I think that for us, we have to meet our customer at the place they need to be met. It's very hard for me to go out and say, everyone needs this one thing, the same thing, and that's all they're gonna get, because everyone comes to us at different places in their life. So one of the things that we thought a lot about when we did our partnership with Green Dot to launch banking is, how do I connect investing and banking and advice in one experience? And one of the things we did, which we're really excited about, is something called Stockback. And what Stockback does is that every single time you spend money on your Stash debit card, which is running on the rails of Green Dot, you get stock. So for example, if you go to Chipotle because you want your burrito, the second you put your card in the machine and take it out, you're automatically a Chipotle shareholder. Pay your T-Mobile bill, the second you pay it, you become a T-Mobile shareholder. You're also learning about these companies. So for us, one of the points that Steve made is about creating a rewards program, or a program where people want. We think about this less as a rewards program, but more about an empowerment of our customer to continue investing small amounts of money as they live their life, but also doing it now in a banking application. So again, it's about, for us, it's really about just understanding our client. And it just so happens that for Stash, our client count in the US is over 150 million people. These aren't the wealthy. Unfortunately or fortunately, the wealthy can go anywhere to get help. But then when you think about the 90% of Americans who think about money and have the same aspirations as wealthy people, how do they live a better life? And so personalization and really thinking about our client and their needs is why I think we're continuing to be successful.
You hit on a couple of other things that I think are important here. Obviously, you hit on financial health, right, is what you're dealing into as well.
Yeah.
And that's obviously an important component, the driver behind this. But maybe either one of you, if you could address a little bit about, you think we've seen, whether it's the Apple Card with no fees, you guys have no NSF fees on a lot of your products. Yep. Can you talk about this move getting away from the penalty fee kind of business models of traditional financial services, and where you see the attraction for that for you?
Well, you want to go?
I'll just say that I think it's bullshit. And I think that, if I look at just, and thanks to Green Dot, we don't charge an overdraft fee. Overdraft fees in America right now is like a $20 billion a year revenue stream for the top incumbent banks. When I look at our customer base, sorry, I hit the mic, about 30% of Stash customers pay $70 a month in banking fees. And the average Stash customer pays $370 a year in banking fees. But if you take that same money and you move it to their retirement account, it effectively changes their life. So I am not a fan of fees. I think the beauty of technology is you can get rid of these unnecessary fees and put the money back in the customer's pockets.
Understood. Steve, change directions a little bit here. You've talked about this on some of your calls in the past about having a very substantial pipeline of different types of distribution of financial services. Maybe you can expand upon, there's a real clash here, I think, that's kind of started, but we're early days. Talk about the different types of companies, the different types of distribution channels that are coming in to compete, and the reasons why.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, the cool part about being Green Dot is we see so many business models and we treat them all confidentially. So I'll speak at a very high level. Every company has a way that they touch their customers and acquire their customers or service their customers. And the ways that our partners in the BaaS side of the business acquire their partners is as unique as the customer. If you look at what Apple Pay Cash has done, now called Apple Cash, it's just so cool with how Apple has put that together, so that if you have an iPhone, I can send you money right now by texting you money. And even if you don't have an Apple Cash account, you can easily open one when you get the text. That's very innovative, but it's unique to the iOS system and the platform and the whole Apple club, if you will. and I'm a big Apple user, as I'm sure pretty much everyone who breathes and walks the earth is. But that's a great ecosystem, but that's unique to Apple. It could be that Intuit has a whole different system through their many properties, whether it's TurboTax or their very other programs where they have pay cards, and Uber with drivers. So it's all different. I think what they all have in common is that they're reaching out to the customers in the way that their customers naturally engage with their company. If you do something out of character, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, but if you know that every day you have people coming in that door, I'm using that door figuratively, that door over there, that's the door that you want to offer the banking services. Because people don't care so much that it's from Green Dot versus Chase versus Wells Fargo versus some other community bank. They care that it's an account that services their needs, that's being brought to them by a company that's relevant to them. If you're investing at Stash and you already opened up an investment account, it makes all the sense in the world that you'd have a bank account that values investment, and that gives you stock back. It's relevant to there. A stock back card on a service like TurboTax may make no sense. So it's all about the channel that you're in and the innovative companies who work with us thinking about who their customer base is and how they can best attract them.
Brandon, maybe you could talk a little bit about the implications for the industry. What do you see as where the financial services industry, from a very broad definition, how do you think this shakeout of this is going to be? Who are the winners and losers, and how do you see that unfolding over what kind of period of time?
Yeah, I think the industry is so big that we're going to have a lot of winners and we're going to have some mega winners. I think that this is the reality of what we live in, and this is the path forward now, is that consumers expect and need digital ways of living their life in financial services. Yeah. And I think, companies like, Green Dot and Stash are allowing people to effectively live better lives, and understand their finances better. This isn't something that's just for the wealthy anymore. I mean, the masses should have the ability to invest, to save, to bank without fees, and to ultimately live better lives. And I think technology is allowing that to happen, and it's going to happen at a faster pace going forward.
And Stephen, your thoughts about the implications? You're kind of the ultimate challenger bank at the end of the day. You are truly taking on the entire financial services industry with large corporate players. So you get to see a lot of different players coming to this. How do you see large corporates versus the financial services industry playing out over time?
Oh gosh, I think, look, I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian. I think there's always going to be a need for large traditional branch banking in the American economy. I think the jobs of banks like Chase and others, not all, some are better than others, but they do a really needed service. You can't build a Moscone Center with a digital bank. When you have that scale of application, you got to have big banks that do big things to help the American economy move. And I think our big bank brethren do a good job with that. But at the consumer level, at the mom and dad consumer level, people are all about their mobile phones and the no fees and the digital applications that are involved with that. And not everyone's good at it. And we built up a skill set that's really, really hard to do. It looks easy. So does seeing a figure skater do a triple backflip, but it's hard to do. You have to be good at it. And all the regulation that goes into it, and the making one account look completely different than the other account, and allowing people who are creative, like Brandon and his team, that they don't really care what we're doing with Apple or with Intuit or Uber or something. They want to do what they want to do. And I'm one of the things I'm most proud about our Green Dot technology team, who's fabulous, is when you look at these products and use them, and I use several of them, and many of you might in this audience, if you're using Apple Pay Cash or using us. And one of the cool things about it is that they all look different, and they all work differently, but it's all the same family of APIs and the same platform powering so many different industries.
Let's put some concluding thoughts to this a little bit. Brandon, maybe you can start. What is it going to take to win? You talked about there's going to be a lot of winners, but what is going to differentiate between being a winner, being a mega winner, and being a loser?
Yeah, for us, it's a hyper-focus. It's a hyper-focus on solving the problems that our customers have. And I don't think that Stash could be everything for everybody right now. I would love to be in credit right now. That's something we have to do later. I think we have to listen to our customers and understand their problems and get really, really good and better, in our case, at continuing to solve their problems. If you look at America right now, 80% of people in America live paycheck to paycheck. And about, there's a lot of stats around this. We believe it's about 60% of people in America can't come up with $500 in a medical emergency. But after 1 year on Stash, that's not the case for people that use our auto savings products. So for us, it's about continuing to focus on our customer and our demo, which again is a massive, massive population of the US. And so that's how we think we win, is by just hyper focusing on the problem and continuing to solve it.
Steve, you get to see a lot of different players, and you get to see a lot of different distribution channels with a lot of different strategies. What are the commonalities that you think are going to differentiate the winners versus the losers here?
The best products that we think will be acquired at the highest rates are those that, number one, have a big host company. You have to have a lot of customers to begin with or growing very quickly. In Brandon's case, both. A lot of customers growing quickly. And you have to be willing to custom tailor the product to be relevant to your customer segment. And one is not relevant to the other. So you have to be very willing to say, okay, this is our character as a company, this is why people use our services, whatever those may be, and then making the checking account or the bank account look chameleon-like into those services. And those that do that, our accounts are like tofu. They take on the flavor of the sponsor company they're in, and if our APIs are good enough and flexible enough, anyone can build whatever they want. And they know if they're with Green Dot, that it's going to be compliant, that it's going to work at scale without going down, and without doing stupid things, and without doing all the things that you need to do at scale for very big enterprise level clients. And that's what our specialty is.
I think I hear one of the commonalities from you guys is, at the end of the day, innovative solutions, right?
Yes.
You got lower costs through lower fees at the end of the day, and solving real pain points for customers.
Yes.
So with that, I think we got started a couple minutes late. We're a couple minutes late over, but we're going to conclude. And I want to say thank you to you guys for sharing your insights as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Awesome.